demolishing cities and costing billions. But what if man had the power to fool Mother Nature? A new substance could hold the key to slowing down destructive storms.
I think I deserve a fair shot.
Holmes shows you a product that could help weaken future storms.
Look at what hurricanes are doing to our country.
A must-see test on the brink of hurricane season. Tonight at 11 on the Night Beat. Coverage you can count on.
Well, scientists believe it will be another active storm season with 9 hurricanes forming in the Atlantic Ocean, 5 of which are expected to be major storms.
In a state already battered and beaten by Mother Nature, a group of local researchers is doggedly pursuing an idea to control these storms for good. Is it possible? Tonight, News Channel 5's Jamie Holmes finds out whether it is science or fiction. Jamie.
Jim, Hurricane Katrina killed 1,800 people. That's half the number of people that have been killed since the war in Iraq began. Katrina cost $81 billion, the most expensive natural disaster in U.S. history. But what if all that, if Mother Nature's increasing fury could be tamed? They're billion-dollar bombs. Indiscriminate killing machines capable of wiping out entire cities. Will man ever have the power to stop a force like this?
I think I deserve a fair shot.
Welcome to Geltec Solutions, a Jupiter-based company dedicated to stopping the storms. It's where Peter Cordani has spent hundreds of thousands on this.
It's almost like a baby powder and has the ability to absorb hundreds of times its own weight on contact instantly.
Cordani loves to show what this powder can do. 4 cups of water and a half teaspoon of powder later.
You see here, just by taking this tablespoon, pouring just a little bit of there.
Call it a polymer with potential.
We're going to add salt water here, right out of our ocean, and we'll show you how it'll break it down instantly by adding the salt water.
And Geltec has big plans for a powder that can absorb fresh water and completely dissolve in salt water. They want to take it up in cargo planes, dump it over Category 4 or 5 storms, and absorb enough energy from a hurricane to slow down the winds.
We feel if we cut out the pie-shaped piece, it'll allow the winds to turn into themselves and take the devastating punch out of the storm.
Geltec scientists believe they could slow down the outside winds of a storm by 30%. They've been developing the product for 10 years, and some big players like former FEMA director Michael Brown have even joined Geltec's board of directors. So why can't Cordani and company test this powder today if a storm were to pop up off the Florida coast?
Well, the biggest hurdle that we're facing right now is money.
Big money. Cordani's scientists estimate it will cost $48 million to prove once and for all his powder does what he promises.
We're going to build a special rolling Doppler radar equipment, and that'll allow us to understand and learn what each little particle is doing up there.
Dr. Hugh Willoughby was one of the top researchers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and he has his doubts about Geltec.
What I can't figure out is how it would produce a desirable effect in a hurricane.
Willoughby argues a hurricane gets its strength from heat off the ocean, not from water, and cutting out the storm clouds, he says, won't destroy its heat source.
You drop a substance into a hurricane that absorbs condensed water, you're not starving the hurricane, you're emptying its litter box.
Willoughby also says $48 million is a lot of cash in the weather business. The National Hurricane Center, for instance, only has an annual budget of about $5 million, and they fight for every cent.
The whole federal program on hurricanes, apart from disaster relief and Corps of Engineers water projects, spends maybe somewhere between $90 and $110 or $120 million every year.
Cordani believes he has enough interest from the private sector to raise the money. He says the insurance and oil industries are desperate to ease the bleeding from storm damage.
I think this is one that should be taken a look at because, you know, $50 million is really peanuts to be what's compared to what is being spent today.
Willoughby also questions the power of this powder. He says if Geltec were to attack the eye of a hurricane that was 20 kilometers across, it would take more than 350 flights to have any potential impact.
Basically, it would take more C-5As, the military heavy lift aircraft that exist in the world, by a huge factor.
Cordani says his powder is far more absorbent now than when Willoughby analyzed it, and he says to seed a storm would require far fewer flights.
Well, these are the things that we're going to learn in science, but we feel just off the back of the envelope, it would take 8 to 10 747s loaded with the product.
Geltec says if they do get their funding, they're 2 to 4 years out from testing it on a real storm. Right now, Cordani agrees the scientific proof isn't there. But once it is, he says even his critics will want a piece of this powder.
A lot of people come up with these ideas every day, and most of them are just plain loony, like Dr. Willoughby would say. But this is one that deserves a look. Look at what hurricanes are doing to our country.
Geltec says they plan on going after the upper level clouds where there's the coldest water. They say if they can bring that down to ocean level, it will cool the water's surface and then erode the storm's power source. In the coming weeks, they'll put together their plan to pursue funding.
Well, who wouldn't love to get rid of these storms and attack them from their base? So what's it going to take for Geltec to be able to test their product on a real storm?
Well, first they need that money, and that's a lot of cash to raise. But if they get the funding, which includes research by top universities in the nation, the aircraft and radar systems, they say that they'll prove the product works. Once it does, they're confident the government will step in, and within 4 years, it can be tested on a hurricane. So the question I think on a lot of people's minds is, does it work? There isn't an answer. The critics can't say that it without a fact that it fundamentally doesn't work, and Geltec can't yet prove that it does. The question should be then, should they try?
Well, and there's hope on the horizon. I mean, we've been stuck with 3 storms in 14 months, and we sure here in South Florida would probably give it a shot. We'd be all behind it.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.